By the end of this episode, you're going to see the idea of being watched in a completely different way. Because today we're diving into one of the most controversial, uncomfortable and psychologically fascinating questions of our time. Is increasing surveillance a good thing? Or is it quietly pushing us towards totalitarianism? Most people say they hate surveillance. Most people say it invades privacy and threatens human rights. But the uncomfortable truth, people behave better when they think they're being watched. Jeremy Bentham knew this. George Orwell warned us about this. Aldous Huxley saw it evolving. And here's the twist I want you to sit with for a moment. Is this why morality increases when people believe in God? Is religion the original Panopticon? A cosmic CCTV watching your every action? Let's dive in. Because we all claim we want privacy. We don't want cameras everywhere. We don't want our data tracked. But when something bad happens, we suddenly want surveillance. Your house gets robbed. You want doorbell footage. Your car gets hit. You want traffic camera recordings. Someone threatens your family. You want every digital trace the police can find. We say we hate being watched, yet we willingly install cameras in and around our homes. We buy Ring doorbells, we record everything on our phones. We upload our entire lives to social media. So maybe the real tension isn't privacy versus surveillance, but security versus autonomy. Surveillance makes us feel protected. Privacy makes us feel free. And in the modern world, you rarely get both. To understand everything about modern surveillance, you need to understand one structure, the Panopticon, designed in the late 1700s by philosopher Jeremy Bentham. So imagine this, a circular prison, like a giant ring, cells arranged around the outer wall facing inwards, each cell open to full visibility, bars, not walls. No corners for prisoners to hide behind, total exposure. In the centre sits a tall, tower-like watchroom, darkened windows, blinds that reveal nothing, a silhouette you can't make out. From this central tower, a single guard could, in theory, see every prisoner, but the prisoners could never see the guard. They never knew if he was looking at them or looking away, or if there was even a guard inside at all. So what happens psychologically? You behave as if you're being watched 24/7. You regulate yourself, you discipline yourself, you control yourself. Bentham believed this was the perfect system. One guard to monitor hundreds, perfect compliance, no rebellion, no secrets, no privacy. This was the birth of the modern surveillance theory. Michael Foucault later said that the Panopticon isn't just a prison design, it's a metaphor for how modern societies control people. The power is not in watching you, it's in making you watch yourself. And that's exactly where life is today. Cameras, algorithms, location tracking, digital footprints, social credit scoring. The Panopticon has become digital, invisible, everywhere. And here's where things get even more fascinating, because the idea of being watched changes behaviour doesn't just apply to humans. It shows up in physics too. If we take the double slit experiment, when electrons pass through two slits, they behave like waves, scattered, free, unpredictable. But when we place a detector near the slits to observe which path the electron takes, it stops acting like a wave, it collapses into a single fixed state. It behaves like a particle. Observation changes its behaviour, and in the delayed choice experiment it gets even stranger. You can observe the electron after it has already travelled, and the outcome still changes retroactively. Almost like reality waits to see whether someone is watching before it decides how to behave. From subatomic particles to animals to human beings, the presence of an observer alters the behaviour of the observed. Bentham predicted it in prisons. Quantum physics shows it in the very fabric of reality. The watcher changes the watched. So here are some real-world surveillance examples that instantly change human behaviour. Your parents might be watching you clean. Suddenly you're doing it properly. Your driving instructor watching you. You become the safest driver on earth. Your boss walking past your desk. Suddenly you start typing and pretending you're on the phone. Your partner glancing at your phone or looking at your laptop. Your online behaviour changes. CCTVs in shops. Shoplifting can drop. Doorbell cameras. Package theft has gone down. Vandalism drops. Amazon drivers act more carefully, not throwing packages about. What about a police car that parks on the roadside? Everyone drives like they're taking their test again. What about body cams on the policemen? Officers and civilians can be treated more respectfully. And gyms with cameras, more equipment is returned, less aggression, better etiquette. What about schools with cameras? Bullying drops, vandalism drops. Even teachers behave more ethically. Offices with monitoring software, more work gets done, but at the cost of psychological exhaustion. Even animals under observation. Put a fake predator in a field, prey instantly shift behaviour. Even dogs, if you've got out and you've left the camera on, they start doing things they shouldn't be doing because they know that you're not there to watch them. Surveillance works, it gets results, but at what cost? This is where things get uncomfortable, because the same tools that protect society can also enslave society. George Orwell, 1984. A world of total surveillance, cameras watching every room, microphones listening everywhere, thought police, screens that never turn off, history rewritten, every action monitored, every emotion regulated. Orwell's warning was simple. A government that sees everything can control everything. If you're always being watched, you stop being human. You become obedient, fearful, predictable. And then Aldous Huxley in Brave New World. This was surveillance through pleasure. People willingly complied. They were not controlled by themselves. They were controlled not by fear, but by distraction, entertainment, medication and comfort. Orwell predicted we'd be controlled by fear. Huxley predicted we'd be controlled by pleasure. Today we're living in both. Cameras everywhere, apps tracking your location, companies recording your conversations, governments storing your data, algorithms shaping your beliefs. We are building a global Panopticon without realising it. And unlike Bentham's prison, this one doesn't need walls, it doesn't need guards, it doesn't need towers. It just needs your phone, your apps, your metadata. A surveillance system where you voluntarily carry the tracking device. People don't fear cameras, they fear power, they fear the abuse of authority, data being used against them, manipulation, political control, blackmail, social conditioning, loss of identity, loss of autonomy, loss of privacy, the inability to be imperfect, the inability to be themselves. A world without privacy is a world without freedom, because privacy is where you think, you dream, you create, you question, you experiment, you make mistakes, you grow. Surveillance sterilises all of that. Now let's get even more philosophical. Throughout history, societies that believed in an all-seeing God often became more moral, more structured, and less chaotic. Why? Because if you believe in a divine being able to see everything, hear everything, know your thoughts, and judge your actions, then that's the ultimate surveillance system, isn't it? One without cameras, without towers, without technology. God becomes the cosmic CCTV, the metaphysical Panopticon. You don't cheat, lie, or betray, not because society watches, but because God watches. And unlike Bentham's guard tower, God is omnipresent, omniscient, always observing, always recording, always judging. So the deeper question becomes, is belief in God a spiritual truth, or is it a psychological technology designed to regulate behaviour long before governments had cameras? And today, is AI trying to replace that role? Is it beneficial for societies to believe in God for that reason, that if they believe they are being watched and judged, they are more likely to act moral? Is it of net benefit? Is that why, for them, God can see everything to make sure that we are acting morally? Or as people move away from religion toward atheism and the like, is that why societies are, in some respects, getting more violent? But then you could argue that actually religious societies are more aggressive. So this is the juxtaposition of this question, really. Because surveillance protects, surveillance controls, surveillance civilises. But also surveillance corrupts. It's both a guardian and a threat, a tool of justice and a tool of oppression. The Panopticon was a prediction. 1984 was a warning. Brave New World was a prophecy. And religion may have been the original attempt to guide human behaviour through an unseen observer. So the real question is surveillance good or bad? Who watches the watcher? Who controls the system? And do we choose the observation? Or does the observation choose us? Because surveillance can make society safer, but if it goes too far, it doesn't just monitor your life, it becomes your life. And that is where we must draw the line. This episode was sponsored by Strong Coffee Company, protein-packed coffee for energy and clarity. Use code VANCRUX1 for 20% off at strongcoffeecompany.com. Also, More Labs, clinically proven hydration and recovery drinks. Use code VANCRUX1 for 25% off at morelabs.com. And finally, liquor gummies, electrolytes and vitamins for hangover prevention. Use code VANCRUX1 for 20% off at liquor.com. That's liquure.com.